Hey all you cats and chicks out there, welcome back to Control Players Unite. I'm your host, Dr. Red. Today we will be reviewing all of the Pokemon causing an increase in the opponent's attack cost and all of those offering retreat lock. We are pairing them together because forcing an increase in attack cost and preventing retreat goes together in shutting down an opponent's strategy. Some cards will have an elaboration, others not. Let's begin. First, we have Ariados Hidden Threads. Your opponent's Pokemon's V-Star attacks cost 1 energy more, and you can't apply more than one of these at a time. Excuse me, this saw no play whatsoever. Not really useful, because your opponent could also have a V Max or just a straight up basic V. So, I guess Pokemon was trying to give some variance, but, it didn't really seem to work. Brambleghast, Deadwood Detention during your opponent's next turn. Attacks that the defending Pokemon uses cost 2 colorless more. This would be grand with a reversal energy. This card hasn't seen any play. Brambleghast is a meme at this point, but it's just fun to know that it's there. Espathra EX. This is on the bubble for breaking into serious competitive meta Pokemon right now. It's usually paired with Bayonet EX. It has the Dazzling Gaze ability, which states, as long as this Pokemon is in the active, attacks by your opponent's active Pokemon cost 1 colorless more. It has Psyball, which does 30 plus damage, 30 more damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. So pairing this with a Xatu will also get it charged up to do more damage much quicker than you otherwise could. So it's definitely worth considering as an aggro control deck with something like Bayonet EX, and something to keep an eye on as we get more cards in the format. Wo-Chien, Binding Greed. During your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon cost 2 colors more. I faced this card once on the ladder in the casual mode, but really this hasn't seen competitive play because it is really hard to get charged up. Seismitoad, Quaking Zone. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, attacks used by your opponent's active cost 1 colorless more. Not competitive, but a really fun meme deck. Especially good when you compare it with something like Wo-Chien PAR Excalibur if you have the bench space. I keep saying that about water Pokemon throughout these videos, but really that's the name of the game right now. You might also just try manually attaching using Candace to get more cards into your hand, but really otherwise Seismitoad's just kind of on the sidelines. Grimer, Gummy Press. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's retreat cost is 1 more, and then its evolution Muk has Sticky Jail for 1 darkness energy. During your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon cost 1 colorless more, and its retreat cost is 1 more. Pokemon League Headquarters. This is the big time trainer card for control decks. One of them. Attacks used by each basic Pokemon in play, yours and your opponent's, cost 1 colorless more. Espathra EX also uses it to make it even harder for your opponent to get it off, to get an attack off, as it would increase the attack cost by 2. So that's something just to consider when you're building an Espathra deck, if you have any interest in that. Otherwise, we're just going to move to Retreat Lock right now. See some of the decks I have here. Retreat Lock, we have Bellsprout, Bind Down. During opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Not used at all. Carnivine, I find this in meme decks. Bind Down. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Roserade, this is a new one from Temporal Forces. Bind Down. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. You might see this in a deck that's maybe going after Charizard if you want to maybe hit it for weakness. Use it as a side attacker. It doesn't really seem that it would be good on its own. Scovillain EX, this is seeing a lot of popularity in Japan. It is definitely a disruption deck. Its Chili Snapper Bind states that your opponent's active Pokemon is burned, and during your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't retreat. Two-headed Crushing isn't bad either. It's a 2-hit knockout potential, so definitely Scovillain EX can be fit into any deck. I would say 1-1-2-2 line. You're gonna have some trouble getting it charged up because of the 2 grass energy instead of, say, a grass and a colorless, but it can also stand on its own and do some serious damage if you compare it with the right trainers, so definitely explore this one. Tarountula, Bind Down. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Spidops EX, Trap Territory ability. Your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost is 1 colorless more. This is paired all the time with Venomoth, Item Lock, and sometimes Hisuian Overqwil with the Doom Curse auto KO attack. Spidops EX, I don't know if it can stand on its own with Wire Hang, but it's definitely worth including in any deck where you want to slow your opponent down. It has a lot of potential to be, I think, to have some fun. It has a lot of potential to be really fun with a lot of different types of builds, but I don't know if enough people are exploring that right now. It's worth your consideration. Trevenant, this is paired with the new Claydol. The ability Forest Miasma states during Pokemon Checkup, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, put a damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. But it's here because of lockup. It does 100 damage. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So you're basically doing 110 per turn. Moving on, we have Rapidash Ring of Fire. This doesn't see any play. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Talonflame doesn't see any play, but it has the clutch attack. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Glaceon V-Star. I'm kind of surprised this hasn't seen more play with Arceus V-Star, but maybe it's because it doesn't hit for too much weakness and only has 260 HP. Icicle Shot states that during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Also has Crystal Star, which does 220 and prevents all damage and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. Definitely an aggro control card. I will be building one of these decks here soon enough. Omastar has the Primordial Tentacles ability. As long as this Pokemon's in the active, your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat. Totodile Big Bite. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Wugtrio Entwining Entrapment. Same thing. Next turn, Pokemon can't retreat. Wugtrio EX Numbing Hold. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. This is definitely a meme card, at least for many professional players. Why discard up to 3 energy cards from your hand with Tricolor Pump if you can just use Wo-Chien PAL and discard as many as you want? Even though it does have 30 more HP, it's negligible because it's a stage 1. So unless it's lightning is going to hit something big, it really just doesn't seem to be worth it for competitive play, though you probably will have fun with it as a meme. Then we have Espathra with Eye Strength. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Gourgeist, this is a fun disruption card. Sometimes it's paired with Gothitelle. Starling Pumpkin states that if this Pokemon is knocked out from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you discard 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. But we have it here because of Shadow Bind. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. You would be best to charge this up maybe with a Xatu and a double colorless, but really you would try it for a reversal energy and use it in a disruption deck rather than a straight up aggro deck. Hisuian Typhlosion, Shadowbind. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Houndstone EX, Big Bite. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Also has the Last Respects attack, 10 more damage for each Psychic Pokemon in your discard pile. I faced one of these decks once on the casual ladder and got my deck handed to me. It was really powerful. I'm sure it's very fun to play if you're into this style of deck building. Mawile, this is the king of the cards in this entire video. If nothing else, this is what you want to know about. Mawile has the Tempting Trap ability. It says during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Now, why is that important? As it's a theme here. First of all, it's a basic. Second of all, it has a 1 colorless energy cost, so anything will do. You can fit this into any deck. Second of all, it doesn't do any damage, so you can keep your opponent's active Pokemon in the active spot indefinitely. And next, this is perhaps most important, you can't boss around it. If your opponent bosses something from your bench up to the active, all you need to do is find a way to get that Pokemon out of the active and put Mawile back in because your opponent's active Pokemon is stuck. Although it could get out of it with a switching card, it's not likely. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it's not likely, but if you keep spamming Mawile, they're eventually going to run out of resources. So definitely put Mawile in pretty much any deck, especially control deck you can think of. Noctli, during your opponent's next turn, defending Pokemon can't retreat. Onix, Rock Tomb, during your opponent's next turn, defending Pokemon can't retreat. Doesn't see any play, has a 3 colorless energy cost on a basic. Only does 50 damage. Sandslash, Rumble, during your opponent's next turn, defending Pokemon can't retreat. Sandygast, same thing, defending Pokemon can't retreat. Stunfisk, Rumble, during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat, but it also has the custom trap ability. If this Pokemon is in the active, has a tool attached, and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you put 5 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. This is a good counter card. I tried pairing it once with Mismagus, didn't work too well, but I could definitely see it in like a fighting box deck or something that prioritizes a major fighting Pokemon, like maybe Caradon EX. Pseudo Wudo. I always want to say Pseudo Wado. Okay, anyway. Impound during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. Wormadam, bind down. Opponent's next turn, defending Pokemon can't retreat. 80 damage for 3 energy, not really worth it. Arbok EX, this is an archetype that has a hard time getting off the ground. Bind down during opponent's next turn, defending Pokemon can't retreat. Menacing Fangs also discards 2 cards from your opponent's hand. That's why it would be played as a hand disruption archetype, often paired with Darkrai V-Star and at least 1 or 2 other dark Pokemon to really try to get it off the ground. But this 3 darkness energy right here is pretty hard right now. Charge up in 1 turn, although I've done it before. It's very slow, it's a bit awkward, but it's definitely fun if you can get it going. Bombardier, clutch during your opponent's next turn. Defending Pokemon can't retreat. Note that it has a knick-knack carrying attack. Search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon tool cards, reveal them, put them into your hand. So if you have a deck that's heavy on tools, worth considering. Hisuian Overqwil, pinning during your opponent's next turn. Defending Pokemon can't retreat. Inkay, same thing with Hug. Defending Pokemon can't retreat. Muk, Shrieking Poison. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused and poisoned, which you're going to pair with Sludge Street. The retreat cost of your opponent's poison Pokemon is 1 colorless more, although with Brute Bonnet and its ability, you could just pretty much ignore Shrieking Poison altogether. Haven't seen this in any serious decks either. The other Muk, during your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon cost 1 more, and its retreat cost is also 1 more. Paldean Clodsire, Poison Ring. During your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't retreat. Chatot, Jabberon during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. That's kind of funny how jabbering would stop your Pokemon from leaving. Anyway, Corvisquire, clutch, defending Pokemon can't retreat. Block Snorlax, you all know this. This is, or used to be, I should say, the king of control until Pidgeot EX control became a thing. The block ability says as long as this Pokemon is in the active, your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat. It's pretty much Mawile, except that you can boss around it. It's extremely powerful, and those of you that know control, know what you can do with this card. And if you're new to control, definitely try making a block Snorlax deck of your own just to experiment with it. Calamitous Wasteland, the retreat cost of each basic non-fighting Pokemon is 1 more. This is what you want to pair with Hisuian Zoroark and Spidops EX, though I haven't seen it paired with much else. And we're back to the beginning. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Please take care of yourselves, and God bless you.